Welcome to my latest series, Baking Wisdom. Now, this is based on my newest cookbook of the very same name. And in that book, I share my decades of baking experience packed into over 150 recipes. Now, the idea is to make you a confident, innovative baker, and let's have some fun in the process. Today, I am making my London Fog Madeleines. Oh, don't you just love a Madeleine? That little buttery cake served warm from the oven? Well, while the classics are vanilla and lemon, I'm making a London Fog version, which is inspired by that Earl Grey tea latte. So I want citrus flavors, tea flavors, and that milky color to my Madeleines. So I need to work in that Earl Grey flavor. When you make a Madeleine, you start by melting your butter. Sometimes you even brown your butter. So this is where I'm going to start infusing the Earl Grey tea flavor. I've got my unsalted butter that I'll add to my pot. Because of the fat, butter doesn't absorb flavor the way milk or cream does, so you really have to concentrate that flavor. So I've got 2 Earl Grey tea bags, and I'm not just going to put the bags into the butter as it melts. I'm actually going to break open the bag. If you have loose leaf tea, you can use that and measure it right into the pot. The tea bags actually have ground tea, and that gets the flavor into the butter faster. Now, you might think heating your butter on high heat will get that flavor into the butter, but we don't want to brown the butter, and we want to allow some time for that Earl Grey flavor to cook in. So I'm going to warm this up over low heat for about 5 minutes. All right, I can actually smell that citrusy tea aroma from the Earl Grey. You definitely want to strain out your tea. And you will see it adds a touch of Earl Grey tea color to your butter. There we go. And now I'll set this aside to cool. You don't want to work with the butter while it's warm. Let it cool to room temperature. In the meantime, I can mix the base ingredients for my Madeleine batter. What I love about making Madeleines is it's a simple batter. The ingredients are straightforward, but the finesse comes in the technique. This part, though, really doesn't have a lot of technique, but it does take precise measuring. First, I'll start with 2 whole eggs and an egg white. Then I add my granulated sugar, a teaspoon of honey, and the same of vanilla. A good London Fog tea latte has not just the Earl Grey and the foamy milk, but it has a little vanilla syrup added to it. I only do half syrup. I love the vanilla, but I don't want it too sweet. There we go. Now I'll give this a little whisk. It's time to sift in the dry ingredients, my flour. All-purpose flour is fine. A teaspoon of baking powder. That helps give the Madeleines their lift. And what I like to add, it adds a touch of flavor, but gives these Madeleines that tea latte color, is just a teaspoon of cocoa powder. You want to chill Madeleine batter because it comes down to how the Madeleines bake. You want them to go from ice cold into a hot oven to really coax their volume. Now it's time to add the cooled Earl Grey butter. Oh my gosh, I'm staring at my lemon. I totally forgot to add my lemon zest. I was talking about how I like to add that little bit of cocoa for Earl Grey color and to kind of give the Madeleines flavor depth. Well, I do the same. I like to add a little lemon zest, not too much, just a teaspoon, to the batter, and that enhances that citrusy character you get in Earl Grey tea. Earl Grey tea uses bergamot, but I just have no bergamot here. You can't buy fresh bergamot in the store. You just have to go to the south of Italy to get it. Now to add the butter. I'll transfer this to a smaller bowl so it fits in the fridge. You want to give this batter a minimum of 2 hours to chill in the fridge, but you can make it up to a day ahead. What counts is the batter is ice cold right before it goes into the oven. It's time to bake those Madeleines, but first we have to get ready. And this is where those little bits of baking wisdom come in. you actually want to brush your pans with butter because madeleines are all about butter. But if you chill your pans before you brush them, you won't get pools of melted butter in the bottom of each. So I just pop these in the fridge for about 15-20 minutes. Then I've got my melted butter. And when you brush the pans, the butter will set on the pans in a nice even layer. While I'm doing this, let's talk about Madeleine pans. So a Madeleine has this typical shell shape, bakes up as a lovely little cake. You can even buy miniature versions. When I was playing with this recipe, I tested so many different types of pans. Silicone pans, I did not get the nice browning I wanted. I tried old world aluminum pans and the Madeleine stuck. I really find I have the best luck with non-stick metal Madeleine pans. There we go. And so can you see butter is actually starting to set in the tins. This recipe makes 18 Madeleines, so I only have to butter half of this pan. We're not ready to bake the Madeleines yet. I need to freeze the pans. Give them about 10 minutes in the freezer. So it's a perfect time to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Remember, the key to a good Madeleine, cold batter, cold pan, hot oven. Ooh, those pans are cold. They are right from the freezer. My oven is preheated. And now, I'll just use a scoop to drop the batter into the pan. Because of all that butter, the chilled batter will melt and fill that beautiful little shell shape. And the joy is, with such a small cake and such a hot oven, these only take about 10 minutes to bake. Now, that bosse, the bump that is the signature of a well-made Madeleine, that tends to form just in the last 2 minutes of baking. So don't panic when you don't see it at first. It's the batter that kind of warms up and pushes up last and pushes right through the center of the Madeleine. La bosse, well, it's the boss. I've made a cup of tea and now it's time to pull out those Madeleines. And there it is, la bosse, that bump. I love seeing that on top of Madeleines. Now these are hot, but you want to get them out of the pan quickly to let them cool a little bit. If you let the Madeleines cool in their pan, you might get some condensation, and then that'll ruin that sort of delicate, crispy outside, yielding to the buttery center. I'm just gonna go for a light dusting of icing sugar. And these are best freshly baked and served warm, though you can bake them ahead of time and just warm them in a low temperature oven. To me, it's all about them being warm. Stack of, and I was serious, I have a cup of tea ready. Just so good. You can smell the butter when these Madeleines bake, and that's kind of your indicator when they're almost ready. You know, there's really just one word to describe a Madeleine. It's delightful. And now you can take this baking wisdom and own this recipe. Make it your own, enjoy it, and feel great when you pull your own batch of Madeleines from the oven. Time for a tea break for me. Oh, this is so warm. It's so good. It just kind of evaporates when you bite it.